الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ثم أما بعد. الإمام النووي رحمه الله تعالى يقول في رياض الصالحين: باب استحباب زيارة القبور للرجال وما يقوله الزائر. Chapter desirability of visiting the graves for men and what they should say. قال عن أبي بريدة رضي الله عنه أو عن بريدة رضي الله عنه قال: قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: كنت نهيتكم عن زيارة القبور فزوروها. رواه مسلم. In this very short hadith, Buraydah radiallahu anhu, the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the Messenger of Allah azza wa jalla once said, in the past, I forbade you visiting graves, but visit them now. So the initial command that they received from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to avoid visiting the graves. The ulama, they argued on that point. Why was it prohibited for them to visit their graves? The majority of the fuqaha, the ulama, they say the reason for that is because that was still at the beginning, the initiation of Islam, and the early days of Islam, establishing at-tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mushrikeen back then, before Islam, they used to value these graves a lot. They used to create shrines, consider them like intercessors. So when they visit these so-called graves of people that they once honored in their life, they would create so much shirk. So they do a lot of ibadat, like making dua, asking them for things, making dua to them, basically, so they could help them with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the beginning, he didn't want the Muslimin to associate with this kind of culture. So now later on, after Islam alhamdulillah became established in Medina, and the Muslims now, they understood the meaning of Tawheed and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no longer a fear that the average Muslim might mix these aqidah with these practices. So now that they know that it's wrong, we know that they're not going to practice these things. That's why he said, go ahead and fazuruha. In another narration, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave the reason, قَالَ فَإِنَّهَا تُذَكِّرُكُمُ الْآخِرَةِ, because it will definitely remind you with the Day of Judgment. So suddenly when you go to the graveyard and you see how majestic that sight is, subhanAllah, so quiet, so peaceful, and everybody's there, supposed to be equal. I mean, these cemeteries over here might not actually reflect this feeling, because of specifically in some churches, some practices, they build on these graves, and they make monuments and they make a lot of things. But when you go to an average cemetery, it's supposed to be like in the Baqiyah, for example, in the, close to Masjid al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You go there aren't even headstones. So you don't even know the people by name. Why? Because death made them all equal. Death made them all one. Khalas. Doesn't matter who's there and who's here. They're all now dead. They're all equal in that sense. So when you go there and you see, subhanAllah, all these graves, you know that one day your turn is going to come. That day you walked into the cemetery carrying someone. Next day you're going to be carried. That day you went home. Next time you might not be returning home at all. So eventually each and every one of us will have his share in that. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, كُنْتُ نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْ زِيَارَةِ الْقُبُورِ, I forbade you in the past to visit these graves, but now I would say, go ahead, visit the graves. He said, فَإِنَّهَا تُذَكِّرُكُمُ الْآخِرَةِ, because it definitely brings you the memories of the Day of Judgment. And the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith, مَنْ مَاتَ فَقَدْ قَامَتْ قِيَامَتُهُ, if someone dies, his qiyamah already established. You don't have to know how long is it going to last after you until the Day of Judgment. Does it matter to you? It doesn't. Because once you die, your own Day of Judgment already started. Whether it's going to happen today, tomorrow, the day after that, or even 100 years from there, it doesn't matter to you anymore because you're already there. You have arrived to the Day of Judgment. So remember that when you go there, you remember them. And the Prophet ﷺ said that, Zuruha, which means take opportunities. You don't have to go only when someone died to go and bury them. If you get a chance, if you're driving by the cemetery, for example, and you have some time, stop by. Go and make dua for the Muslim, for the deceased. Visit someone that you knew and make dua for them. So every now and then, try to go there and remind yourself that, subhanAllah, this whole life that you make yourself busy with might not be that worth it. Wallahu ta'ala. Any questions, Jama'ah? Yes.
There is a tradition back home that on the day of Eid, people would go in the morning and, say dua.
No.
Is this something which was practiced back?
The question is about visiting or assigning the Eid day to visit the dead. The answer to this is one of the, actually, it's an awful bid'ah, an awful innovation that the Muslim Ummah took from maybe other cultures, or maybe, subhanAllah, just out of excessive maybe passion to keep connection with the deceased. They go and they visit them during the Eid time. And what made it even awful, more an extra awful right now, is what people practice, what people do over there. They bring sweet, chocolate, coffee, chai, tea, and all this stuff and so on. And even, wallahi, I remember actually seeing in one of these scenes, because of that, it became like a flea market outside. Merchants are taking advantage of this. They bring flour, they bring the tea, they bring the sweets. So people, as they go to visit their grave, they see other people bringing the good stuff, so they buy from these merchants. So they're making business out of this. This is so awful. The Eid day was the Eid made for celebration, not for mourning the dead. So therefore, when it's Eid day, just go and enjoy the time, inshallah, with your beloved ones. If you would like to remember those who died, remember them in your dua, and some other day you go and you visit them. Wallahu a'lam. Yes.
Now, in this area where we have very few Muslim cemeteries, but we pass by a lot of Christians, non-Muslim cemeteries. While driving by, is it okay? Or you can say Inna Lillahi, or
if you pass by any cemetery, even if it's non-Muslim cemetery, basically, the Prophet ﷺ, one day he was sitting with his companions, and then suddenly a cemetery or a janazah of a Jewish man actually passed by. So the Prophet ﷺ, he stood up. So when they told him, Ya Rasulullah, Yahudi, this is the janazah for a Jewish man. And the Prophet ﷺ, he gave them the remark that death is death. And al-maut lahu hayba. It has its reverence. It has it's really, it's kind of the word respect, but at least it makes people feel. So therefore, it doesn't matter. Death is death. When it comes to cemeteries, you want to make the dua. You make the dua only when you meet the graves of the Muslimin. That's the sunnah of the Prophet, because the Prophet ﷺ says, Allah, Assalamu alaikum ahl al-qubur min al-Muslimin. So, speaking to the Muslim. Wallahu a'lam. Nah. Yes.
Sheikh, what's the status after the death? What's the status of the physical body and the spirit?
The status with the physical body and the spirit after death, after they're buried or before?
Afterward.
After burial, the ruh will go down, would sink down where the body ends at. Basically, let's say if someone, his body was lost in fire or in the sea or anywhere else, the spirit or the soul would go down, would sink in that location where the body was lost, connected with the earth. And it stays there in a world that we call al-barzakh. That's a completely different dimension of life. It has its own unique characteristics. It has its own unique qualities that we cannot comprehend now in our life in this world. And we won't be able actually to comprehend because it's beyond our even imagination. That's ilm al-ghayb. And we are obligated to believe in that. Until the day of judgment, that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring the body back and the ruh will unite with it and it will come out. Wallahu a'lam. Yes.
As far as visiting Jannatul Baqi, what are the etiquettes? I mean, a lot of people.
As far as visiting Jannatul Baqi, why do you call it Jannah? It's not even Jannah. There are a lot of hypocrites been buried there. The hypocrites of Medina were buried there as well. So there is no such thing as Jannatul Baqi. That's a folklore among the Muslimin. They just want to, out of their excessive love to some of those who were buried there, like Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and other of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and even the children of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there's no doubt they are buried there. But again, that doesn't make it Jannah. There is no such thing as Jannah when it comes to al-Maqabir. Your grave, that is the thing that might be your Jannah. Your own grave, regardless where you would be. If you would bury in Baqi', you might be buried here, anywhere else. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was pleased with you, your grave will turn into Jannah bi'idhnillahi ta'ala until the day of judgment. So is there any specific etiquette? It's the same etiquette of visiting the Muslim cemetery. That's all. Wallahu a'lam. Yes.
Yeah, he said that the soul, like let's say a person died drowning in a sea,
No.
and they find the body.
Mhm.
The soul stays in the sea, and the body is buried outside. Is that what you meant?
If the soul, if the body, let's say, was left in the sea or maybe drowned in the sea, and then they found the body and they moved the body to be buried somewhere else, would the soul, in this case, move with the body or stay in the first original place where the body died? The answer to this, Allahu A'lam.
No.
I don't know. No.
Also, another question. One time it was said that some scientists of from the Soviet Union were digging really deep in Earth
Mhm.
and trying to reach like the center or as far as they can reach.
No.
And it was recorded that there was sounds of pretty much people were being
Screaming.
screaming and stuff like that.
Allah Alam, I heard about that, and I think I heard the recording, and I honestly cannot I don't feel comfortable believing in it. Wallahu Alam. I don't know.
There is something in the Quran about the soul being,
Tormented, yeah.
yeah, tormented, but in like the seventh.
في القبور. يعني السبع أراضين, this is not going to be the ard of our ard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the day of judgment, يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض والسماوات. So the earth will change, will be different earth when we're going to be meet our Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when it says that they will be punished under seven earths, so that's maybe not the same earth that we're talking about here. Wallahu a'lam. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.